Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Eric Ciampoli of ECIC Consulting. I'm a production specialist and efficiency engineer. I help companies improve their output in less or the same amount of space with as little money as possible. Mention that, right? So today we'll be doing a brief overview of lean manufacturing with a production simulation. That's what's lined up here in the front. So we're going to need some volunteers. We have one default that's sat in the front, the only willing victim. I bet you didn't know, right?
Oh, I had an idea.
So today we're going to learn how to see. We're going to learn how to see waste within our own factory, things that are this close that we've done every day for many years without realizing why. Right? So lean defined in many different ways. It's a systematic approach to eliminating waste and focusing on non-value added activities, things that don't provide value for what the customer is willing to pay for. Drilling extra holes, extra sanding, extra painting, touch up, things that you and I wouldn't want to pay for, right? But we expect, right? And it's a method to provide what your customer is willing to pay you to do, right? It's very important, right? Because there's a lot of things that we do are maybe non-value added, but necessary, right? Things that we have to do, extra packaging to make sure it doesn't get scratched, right? Is anyone familiar with lean manufacturing and production methodologies? A couple? About 6? Okay. So one of the main myths is that it's only for production processes. I find more waste in administrative than I do in the factory. Paperwork, photocopies, double checks, call the customer, verify 3 times. You know, and sometimes the customer changes their mind the more you call them, right? That's the worst part, right? It doesn't reduce head counts. That's not the goal. Another myth is that it's for high production volume, same of the same thing, right? That's exactly the opposite. It's more beneficial for customized products, right? My company is different. We can't do lean. That's completely false as well. That it's not for custom business. That everything we do is special. We can't lean this out, but I'm sure there is, right? There's lots of waste in customized products, right? The hard part, the whole ramp-up project, everything is new, right? How much of it is really new, right? If you're making the same type of product over and over again, even though it's a different size, a different shape, why are the processes all that different every time, right? Not for a job shop, it's another myth. And it's not for the front office. Like I said, I find lots of waste in the front administrative side, where it takes 3 or 4 days before the production office even knows that there's an order, right? My customers are unique. It's another myth. It's not, every customer wants it right away, right? Everyone has the Amazon syndrome. I want it right now. I'm going to click it and I want it shipped right away, right? I don't care how long it takes you. I want it now, right? Value add test. Does your customer care and are they willing to pay for this activity? Does the activity change the fit, form, or function of the product? And is the activity done right the first time? How many of us here suffer from rework? Right? If you didn't raise your hand, I'd know you're lying. Right? Because we all make mistakes, right? No one's perfect, right? Especially when we put humans into the mix. And sometimes you put a machine on top of it, and it's even worse, right? 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 The answers must be yes for all of them to be value added. We have to do it right the first time. It has to be what the customer wants, right? And it has to be what they're willing to pay for, right? Anyone familiar with the acronym downtime? See, you've done some lean, right? So what it stands for: defects, overproduction. Does anyone here make extra pieces for next time? Just in case? And how often do you use those and how often do you don't? And then you use the last bit of a certain material, you need it for a special color, you cut that board to make 2 extra, and now you get to order a whole pallet of that special color, right? Oops, call the customer. I know we promised Friday, but we're going to need a week. Well, why? We had an issue. What kind of issue? Don't worry about that, right? And here's one that a lot of us are sinners of: not utilizing employees, right? People have more skills than what we give them credit for many times. We stick them in a corner. You're very good at this. Since I need you to do this, you do this. And stay over there and do it until I say do otherwise, right? Cross-training is something we usually miss a lot. Are you really getting all you can out of your employees, things that they can do, right? Instead of going to the comfort zone all the time, right? Transportation. How big is your factory? It doesn't matter how big it is. Sometimes things go back and forth many times. We bought a new machine. The only place we had for it was in the back. So now it goes from the front of the building to the back of the building, back to the front, and then back to the back again, and back to the front, then out the door. Was that necessary? You're laughing because I think you've done it, right?
No, I am.
You're doing it. Okay. So at least you know you're aware of the problem, right? That's the first part, right? Inventory. How much inventory do you have and how much do you need? How long does it take to get more? Right? Seems to have an effect. The longer it takes, the more we buy, just in case. And then a year later, well, man, I need a bigger warehouse, right? Obsolescence is key, right? I came up with an acronym a few months ago. Inventory. Too expensive to keep and too expensive to throw away, right? So you just hold on to it just in case. And then it grows and it grows and it grows, and before you know it, you're out of space, and half of it you don't need, right? Extra motion, right? How far are you traveling? How much work's being done? Where are you going? Why is it over there, right? Extra processing, extra holes, extra sanding, redoing the edge banding because it peeled off because you put the wrong temp. Oops. Identifying wastes, right? There's a little tree. We'll focus on the non-value-added part, right? Is it normal or abnormal? Most of the time it's normal. We've built these processes. We've created these silos. We've created these issues that we repeat over and over again. But how much of it is actually value-added? Oftentimes we're taking a right-hand turn to non-value-added. Sometimes it's absolutely necessary. And sometimes it's completely self-inflicted, right? Extra this, extra that. I always get comments, oh, well, it's only a few seconds. I say, well, it's only a few seconds times a million times. Or it's only a few steps times a million steps. Right? I did a study on an edge banding operator with a client down in Maryland. I said, why don't you have a return conveyor on this edge bander? He's like, why? That return conveyor is $80,000. I said, yeah, but it's worth every penny. So I analyzed how many miles he walks in a day. He walks about 8 to 9 miles a day within the width of the stage, just walking back and forth. I would quit if I were him. I wouldn't last a week. I'd quit. The paint's all worn out. You can see the concrete's worn out, just walking back and forth all day, right? Examples of the 8 wastes: moving parts over long distances, making more than what can be sold, the extra pieces in case I need them, right? Let me just make a few more. Since I got it set up, I'll just make a couple extra, right? Sometimes you're good, you're lucky, and sometimes you're not. And then you end up not needing them, right? Looking for tools. Where's my saw? Where's my drill? Where's my tape measure? Are things where they belong? Right? Another sin that we all create, not utilizing employee talent and their input. They're complaining about something. Yeah, we'll get to that. We're really busy right now. We need to get this done. But you know, later we'll talk about it, right? Over and over. After a certain amount of time, they stop saying anything, right? They stop giving you input. Don't devalue their input. They work with the process every single day, and they're very familiar with what ails them constantly because they do it over and over again. Waiting for parts. Machine could be down because you're waiting on a previous preceding step, right? So you're not getting the full utilization out of other equipment, right? Storing work in process inventory, overproduction, counting parts, recounting, redundant inspections, double check, triple check. When I was in Japan, I was having a discussion with the production manager, and I said, don't you guys double check? He goes, what's a double check? I don't understand. What is this double check thing? Why would you check it twice? I was like, it's a good point. Why do we double check it? So there's no double check. He's like, why would you do that? So it's very eye-opening, right? The double check that we all do. Let's just give it one more look just in case we miss something. Well, why'd you miss it in the first place? Right? If it's a mistake, shouldn't have been caught the first time, right? Point of use inspection. Where you made the problem is where you should find it, right? So if you have to fix it, you're already there. You don't have to come backwards in the process, right? Machine breakdown. How many of us deal with consistent and overwhelming machine issues? Would you say it's your number one issue that delays production? Besides people not showing up for work, especially after a long weekend, right? Machines break, what are you going to do? Right? Do you have backups for that equipment? Usually we don't. So the machine's down, everything stops, right? Right? Rework. How many times are we doing the same thing more than once? Right? There's a little history of lean. Ford, it actually goes precedes this to the U.S. military with a standard called training with an industry, which is a wartime ramp-up process. Right? In order to get war ready, we need to make lots of bombs, lots of tanks and planes and aircraft carriers really quick so that we can compete on the front lines, right? Henry Ford took some of these principles, right? He had almost zero waste on his production line, right? He even put the shipping skids into the car. It's great. Imagine your customers paying to take your trash. Wouldn't that save you a lot of money? So I was like, I'm always fascinated when I get packages on Amazon with the shredded cardboard inside. It makes sense, right? Why buy things to throw them away? Right? Use the boards. And Toyota took it over, and now it's what's known as the Toyota production system, right? Toyota kind of made it famous, right? And then in the 1970s, it became lean manufacturing here in the US, and then high-performing lean, and it continues on. And some of this is tying into Industry 4.0 because of the information issues, right? If we don't have the right information at the right time, are we able to execute the work? Well, how many? When's it due? What color is it? Which version of this? Which accessory item? Which knob? Which hinge? Which am I supposed to do? Not everything is where it's supposed to be, right? So we go looking for information. And then while we're looking for information, work stops, right? But the clock keeps ticking, right? The clock never stops. People always argue, they say, well, we have a 5 business day or 8 business day. I'm like, it doesn't matter what business day. People still count Saturday and Sunday. Your customers are still waiting, right? So lean is market driven, right? This is a very old slide. I stole this from someone else a long time ago, right? It doesn't matter if you're a lion or a gazelle. When the sun comes up, you need to be running, right? If you're not running, what happens? Right? Has anyone ever had a customer cancellation due to delivery? Hope not. You're lucky. Let's see it happen. Business processes before lean, right? This is what a lot of us are doing now. We've got the machine in the back, so it's going over here, over there. Assembly process in the other building that we bought or warehouse up the street because we needed more space, right? Look familiar, right? We're working really hard at our jobs, right? Really hard in the business, but not on the business, right? So things are a little scattered around. We've got waste, overflowing bins of sawdust and scrap wood, remnants, broken items, plastic bags, you name it, right? Grease on the floor. After lean. Is something like this very difficult to obtain? What does it really take? It takes a little bit of time, a little bit of effort, right? And you got to stop for a moment. You got to take a look at what you're doing. Why are we doing this? Is there a better way to do it, right? Okay, so this is the hard part. If I don't get enough volunteers, I have to drag people to the front. I have an associate here in the front. We're going to do a simulation that kind of simulates what the historical production method is. We're going to do some batch manufacturing, MRP. This is the plan, execute the plan type of simulation. So I need about 8 volunteers. So you come up here to the front. We'll go through it here. Here's the instructions. We're going to build 20 towers in 2 different configurations. Okay. The exercise will involve building 4 red towers, 4 silver towers, and then 12 red towers in that sequence. Now, normally these get extremely chaotic because it's the first time most people have worked with this type of exercise. So it ends up becoming a little bit messy, but the point still gets across that the way of executing and planning by work order and MRP is very chaotic and unorganized, and it doesn't give you the flexibility to change. So the teams will have 1 production planner, 1 expediter, 1 stock clerk, 6 production workers, 1 QA, and we'll volunteer a couple timers in the audience, and the rest of everyone else is an observer. Okay? You want to be a timer? Okay. So who's our production planner? Remember, the hardest job is the stock clerk. So that's the one you want to volunteer for. Okay, you're a planner? Okay, you're the first seat right there where the plastic bags are.
Right here?
Yep. Stock clerk?
I want to be a worker.
Okay, production line over here. You can pick an assembly cell. We need a few more volunteers. Which clerk? Okay, so he's our stock guy. We need a few more production workers. Okay, so those placards there. QA inspector, you get to tell everyone their stuff's bad. So we can have a seat on any one of those for production stations there. Have a seat.
On that side?
Yep.
Where's the clerk go?
Actually, might be better if we flip it around, right, so everyone can see.
Okay.
So flip the chairs around, unless you guys want to stand up. It wouldn't make. Well, we'll get to that. Okay. So the SOP is basically going to be on the work order. So that's the fun part. We stuff stuff into a bag.
Who wants to do stand?
Yeah, unless you guys want to flip a chair over. Okay, so we all stand. Okay, so what do we got covered? We got production planner. We need an expediter. Okay, expediter. We got 1, 2, we need a few more production workers.
Sure.
Okay, pick a station. We have a QA inspector. We got plenty of observers. Maybe use one more timer. It helps to have 2 people to help keep track, because we're trying to create a standard time for how long this really takes. We need one more timer. I think we need another production worker. We got one. We have an open station here, an open station here.
I'll be a production worker.
Okay. Didn't you guys already volunteer? No? Okay, so what are we missing? Anyone want to be an observer? Okay, so we got everything covered, right? So we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, we had a QA person. That's the easiest job. QA? Okay, last station. Okay, so stock clerk, that's the fun part. Okay, so where's our stock clerk? Our stock section's over here. This is our warehouse. Okay. So we got everyone, and you're the expediter, right? Okay. So the planner is going to release the shop orders, put them in a plastic carrier bag, and organize them in order. I did you the favor of already organizing them. I normally leave them unorganized, which is a lot of fun, but we don't have time for that. Okay? And then you're going to send them to the stock room.
Okay.
Okay? Is anyone here practice the method of kitting? Okay, so this is an example of that and all the time it takes. So the stockroom is going to kit the order. So he's going to start picking all the parts, put them into the bag in order to deliver to the production line for them to start work. Okay? And the shop order is never removed from the carrier bag. Expediter moves the shop order from the stockroom outgoing area to the appropriate production department. And the information is on the order. It'll say where it goes, right? And the point is that we're going to see chaos and disorganization, because this is what really happens under our noses a lot of times, even though we refuse to see it sometimes. Okay? And we move the shop orders back to stockroom if acceptable, right? So the QA inspects it, and then it comes right back here again, right? Okay? And if an assembly is rejected, it's returned to the relevant production area. Now, sometimes I'll put the wrong parts in the bins to make it worse, right? When we set it up, to mix it up, to create mistakes, but I don't think we'll need to do that today. I think we'll have plenty of issues. Okay, the inspector, the workmanship, inspects workmanship, make sure it meets the standard, right? It'll say on the work order, what is it supposed to be? So, okay, this matches A and B, we're good. Or it's not, then you got to figure out where it goes, okay? Production workers, do what you're told. Put them back into the plastic bag, right? And place in production outgoing area, which basically sometimes they carry down the process, right? So, not all, and what this simulates is not all the time is there the right information to say what to do next, especially when you bring on new employees, right? Standard work. And how many here have routings? You have routings or so-so, right? Sometimes we know, sometimes the routing works, sometimes it's right, sometimes it's wrong. You got to go ask Tom because he knows what to really do. He knows everything. He's been there 30 years, right? Stock clerk has the most difficult job. You process the shop order in the sequence that the planner has established. Now, the planner, sometimes I usually mix them up into the best sequence, but we're going to go in sequential order. It's usually the best way to do it. No matter which way I do it, it's still chaos. So don't feel bad if it doesn't work right, because it never does. If it does, you guys have done this before. and I'll know something's up, okay? So you pick the parts from the stock bins and put them into the plastic carry bag. Very simple job, right? Time consuming, right? Place the shop orders in the outgoing area. The expediter is going to pick these up and bring them to the production cell. We can do that too, okay? And the tower assemblies cannot be released into their order sequence because no assembly has been built. So it's a little, in the beginning, you'll see once you start, there's some sub-assemblies and the work orders that won't go out in time. So you'll be missing, which causes production workers to wait. That's intentional, right? Does that ever happen? We have sub-assemblies, we're short on something, so someone else is sweeping the floor or doing some PM because they don't have the materials they need, right? This simulates that, okay? So this is the hard job, all the observers, our wonderful volunteers. You're going to monitor the quantity of rejects. You're going to look at the work in process level once we've reached 12 towers. I've never had anyone reach 12 towers, Joe, ever. Teamwork and morale, right? Don't mind any swearing that goes on because I'm sure there'll be some. Teamwork, morale, workplace stress levels. You'll see some confusion. Process constraints. It's usually the stock guy, right? Rework requirements. How many mistakes are we making? Or if they even get caught, because sometimes they do, sometimes they don't, right? And workstation effectiveness. How effectively are they working? This is one of the sins that we usually do to ourselves. We look at our process as an individual silo. How efficient can we make this saw? How efficient can we make this edge bander? Let's focus on this. But it's like, yeah, but what does that do for the customer? So you edge band another 5,000 feet, okay, but it still doesn't ship for 6 months, so what's the point? How do we get more stuff to ship now instead of edge band more things that are going to sit there longer, right? So we're looking at the overall process, right? That's the objective of lean. How much can we complete the ship now instead of how much little things can we put together really fast to go nowhere? It doesn't get you much, right? Okay. The timer, you'll be looking at red top tower cycle time, minutes and seconds, right? Everyone has a cell phone with a timer in it, right? Silver top tower, right? And how much time it takes to make 20 towers. So we don't have enough time to go through 20. We'll make it there. So we'll cut it short when anyone gets hurt. Okay? So when the first order is released to the stockroom, you write that time down. When first red towers are received into finished goods inventory. Okay? Good ones. Bad ones don't count. It's very common that the first one comes out wrong. So be prepared for that. Okay, when the first silver tower is received into finished goods inventory, and when the last tower is received in the finished goods inventory. Okay, so don't feel bad if it's a complete mess. It usually is, especially the second one gets a lot better, right? Because you guys become professionals. Okay, the stockroom storage bins are set up over here. This is our traditional inventory warehouse. We put all the stuff in one area so we know where it is, right? Stock bins are provided and they're labeled, so it'll help you identify what you're looking for. And it's not too hard. It's just Lego blocks, but counting them becomes another issue, right? Especially with small parts. Production, we're set up in sequential stations, and they're positioned in order. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, okay? Computer system, this is what's generated all these work orders that happens outside. They're already pre-printed, and I organize them for you in sequential order, and now we'll get started. So, where's our timers? Okay, so you guys will start. You guys can trigger the go. Oh, he already started, so you should start.
Go.
Go. Okay. There's some orders ready for pickup.
Doesn't the expediter read anything?
You guys can count the non-value added elements to this simulation. Does it add any value to put it in a plastic bag? If you've worked in a greasy production facility, maybe it does. If it doesn't go in a bag, you usually can't read it after a few hours. It's covered in grease and God knows what else, chemicals.
Does the final assembly go in a bag too, or just the subset?
Everything goes in a bag. Okay, so what's our time?
41 seconds.
41 seconds. You're just starting to kit it. I can't tell you how many times I've had arguments with large companies that say, yeah, if we kit this, we'll be ready in time. We'll get things done faster. And I say, yeah, but what about all the time the kitter spends putting things into a rack? And chances are, if he's lucky enough to have everything he needs when he goes to pick it, if he is, which usually they're not, you're always missing something, right? It doesn't matter if it's a 10-cent screw or a $50,000 control panel, it doesn't ship, right? Okay? This is part of the concept of a batch process. Does anyone here follow batching?
Yeah.
What drives batching?
So where does this go after I built it?
QA.
Huh?
QA. The QA inspector can float around if he wants to. Usually they don't. They hide in their office, right? Unless something's wrong. Then they're in their boss's office. So look at all the motion, right? This is organized, right? It's all in line. It's lined up. Does anyone have processes that are sequential to each other that are not next to each other? They end up there. Why? Because that's where we had space. Well, where else are we going to put it? Well, we need another building, so it has to go up the street. So it sits on the loading dock till the next day to get it in the truck to go right across the street. I did some value stream mapping with a company that makes laser ring gyroscopes. $1 billion corporation. Facility's right across the street. 12 days, things wait to cross the street. It's literally from like here to that door. It sits there. You're like, I'm not going to go in there. It's 4 o'clock. Just put it there. Next morning, hey, what's this doing here? Oh, I got to bring it across the street. I'll grab it. They walk it across the street. They wait for the cars to go by. They cross the street. They put it in the basket and it sits there. Then the next day, the same thing happens. Does that add any value?
The stock clerk pays attention to the quantities on the shop ticket.
Does it have the quantity?
Yeah, the quantity of 4, but only had 1 part for 1 tower.
Okay, so you're missing parts. How are you going to get more parts?
Do I need to? Yep.
Well, you got to send a signal. Where's our expediter?
Where's my QA?
What's our time? Does any of this sound familiar? I don't have enough parts. Oh my God, that's never happened before. No one ever said ever that I have too many parts. Or you have a bunch and then half of them are no good and then they go to QA. Or they sit in the it's bad until the end of the month scenario, right? It's in QA hold until the 30th. And then all of a sudden it becomes good. Well, we can ship that. That's good enough. And then it goes out the door, right? What are we doing for time?
343.
3:43. Do we have any towers built? Any sub-assemblies?
Yeah, we have some, but not the right one.
Not the right ones. Oh my God.
Doesn't mean anything.
No, it's my fault. I didn't give you enough information. I do what planning does. Here, go make that.
My onboarding.
When's it due? Just make it. Right? We have $1 billion SAP system that tells us exactly when to do it, how to do it, and where to do it. And it always gets done on time. Always. It's infallible, right? And we pay $1 million annual maintenance fee for it. I should have went into software. Planner, how's it going?
Well, the planner's kicking all kinds of ass over here.
They're going right.
Planner's overproducing.
This is true. Did the planner order enough parts? Are there enough black blocks and white blocks? The brown ones become scarce. It's fun putting all this back together. I did it last night. How are we doing for time?
5 minutes.
5 minutes. Timer. Are we timing anything? Anything recorded yet? I feel bad for the stock guy. That's the worst job in this. The planners get it made. They just get to stand here and watch everybody. But don't worry, when they run out of parts, they'll become looking for you. They'll find you. You're on vacation, on the beach, they got your number. Where is this part? Where is it? When is it coming in? QA, have we had any rejects?
You said we have all rejects?
No, did we have any rejects? Are we 100%? Are we Six Sigma? Zero defect?
For order 7077, we are complete.
Okay. And we only have the sub-assemblies done, right? We still haven't even made a full tower yet. This is a fun conversation to have with large companies. Say, why are you making so many subs? And they go, well, why not? Like, so why can't we just do this over here? Oh, you don't understand. Can't do that. Have you ever looked at it? No, we can't. Why? How long does it take to make the sums? Oh, we have it right here in our routings. Is the timing right? Well, so how do you estimate jobs? Oh, we have a formula that we use that's pretty reliable. So do you track your profitability to revise your formula? You usually get the deer in the headlights face. That's not me. I don't do that. Sales does that. Well, how does sales get the information? You're the one making it. And then they say, well, we have a meeting. What's discussed during the meeting? Hey, the last project you gave us was a complete debacle. We need to update this because it took us 350 hours instead of the 200 you quoted. We need to fix this. Did you ever have that conversation? You usually go, well, we had a few mistakes in the past. We made corrections, but is it done on a regular basis? So how are you competitive on jobs if you don't understand what your real standard times are to make things? You're going like this. That looks good. Customer says, well, can you do better? Yeah, sure we can. Just a little. How's that? Is it good? Is it good? So, man, I hope we make money. Right? The salesman still gets their commission. It's lucky bastards. Right? They sold it. This poor production team has to make everything work. Right? So how many towers do we have? You guys doing pretty good? Is QA doing assembly?
No, I'm inspecting the sub-assemblies.
Nice. No rejects, right? All right. 8 minutes.
Before red.
Not bad, 8 minutes. Look at all the work that went into making those.
Oh, would it help if we had the picture of what we were building at the beginning?
QA.
QA? Was at the wrong end of the line, man.
I know. How often is information exactly where it's supposed to be at the right time? Raise your hand if it's always in the right place. Nobody, right? So we have no injuries, right? So we got 4 red tops.
I got 14 stitches in my right.
How are we doing on inventory? Absolutely. We have some idle processes over here. This poor planner's got nothing to do.
I got nothing to do, man.
Station 1, he's working hard. Station 3, Station 2, right? Does anyone ever see that in their facility? No, because they drag it out to fill out the time, right? They don't work extra fast to then sit there, because then if someone sees them not doing anything, someone's going to ask questions, right? Hey, Tom, why are you standing there doing nothing? I got nothing to do. No one's ever going to say that. Maybe you might rare, right? If I say something, they're going to give me more stuff to do, right? My dad used to work for the post office, and they used to do lots of time studies. And then any time the supervisor would come out, everybody knew the rule was to just, I'm working. They're like, yeah, but why don't you walk the normal rate? Yeah, but then they're going to make my route bigger. And I'm like, oh, yeah, I see. Right? You're going to get a bonus? No. And the price of the stamp goes up. Right? So you just walk along and get to the mailbox, just a little dog spray, walk away, right? So we got 4 red. Do we have any silver done yet? Any customer complaints yet? Did anything get back to inventory, expediter? Then we can ship it. How often does something sit on the production floor ready to go, but no one knows it? Except the operator finished it. That happens, except on Fridays, right? When the production planner is out there kicking everybody. We got to ship, we got to ship, we got to ship. Get it out the door, because his boss is yelling at him, right? We need to go, we need to go, right? Otherwise, normal, oh, it's done. They just put it there, it waits, right? We got some silvers ready. We get those red tops over back into stock and check them in. You shipped them? Yep. Okay. So we skipped stock. We went right to dock. Okay. What was our time on the first silver?
10:45.
10:45, not bad.
Hey, I got it wrong part.
Uh-oh. Here we go. Is that our first rework?
No.
No? So the quantity count, we'll forgive that one. 4 silvers, okay. How's it going, Stark Guy?
What's up?
Are you regretting your decision yet?
No.
All right.
Proving my tax on.
It's a champion. The plastic bags are the problem, aren't they?
Not fully.
How we doing on time?
12:15.
12:15. Lots of idle capacity, right? We're doing some preventative maintenance right now, a couple stations.
Who's this guy?
He's the planner.
You gotta step it up, dude.
Hey, man, what do you want me to do?
This is gray, white, black, gray, white, black, wrong color. I got brown, white, black.
What am I supposed to do? I'm a planner, dude. Hey, man, I did my job.
Goes back to stock.
Start all over.
So, if you had to pick, who has the hardest job here? Who's the second hardest job? Who impacts his productivity?
Planner.
Right? So what can the planner do better to optimize his time?
Point of use storage, maybe? Why am I packing when they're assembling?
What's that?
Point of use storage.
Yeah. How does that affect the planner? Makes his job even easier. Just keep them full, right? Is anyone familiar with the concept of a Kanban? When it gets low, order more. We practice a similar formula in our own homes. When the milk gets to a certain point, we go out, we buy some more, right? Seven. Finished goods, 1, 2, 3, 4. How are we doing on time?
14:05.
Okay. So we're going to run it up to about 15 or 16 minutes. No pressure. We'll see how far we can get. If you had to pick one, what's the greatest waste of this process? Putting in the bags, but look at the idle capacity. You have orders to fill, but there's some stations that aren't running. What happens when you have capacity that you don't utilize?
Waiting.
Right? It's waiting. And what happens when your processors are waiting? Who else is waiting? And what happens when customers wait? More phone calls. And what happens when you get more phone calls? You end up with more meetings, which actually reduces productivity. Because we put, why aren't we on time? Because I don't have parts. You know that. So let's have another meeting. Oh, we should all get together on the same page, right?
Gray, white, black. You got more gray, white, black? Planner, gray, white, black.
What else is missing in this process? It was mentioned earlier by QA. Instructions.
Yep.
How often does the lack of information affect custom projects where it's very special? You need lots of information to do it. And how often is someone looking for engineering or design to get that information? A lot, right? Very time consuming. And engineering's busy working on the next project. So their mind is all wrapped around what they're doing now, not what was released 3 weeks ago. So what happens when you ask them a question? Yeah. Give me a second. Let me go figure that out again. Then they go dig through their books. Oh, I did this. Oh, I'm going to have to get back to you on that. I'll send you an email. So you're sitting out on the production floor. You're trying to keep busy. You're doing things, keeping busy, waiting on information. Sometimes, if you're brave enough, you push forward with some assumptions. And what's the golden rule of assumptions? You're either lucky or wrong, right? And it's always the worst possible time to happen. So then you end up into what? The most expensive kind of work, which is what? Rework, right? Doing it twice. Ouch. But you get really good at the second time. Pulling wires out, ripping things off, right? Changing handles. Oh, it's the wrong color. Oops. All right. How are we doing for time?
16:38.
Okay, let's call it at 17 minutes. And we'll do a tally. You guys are doing really good. Okay, freeze. We'll count those. They made it out of the gate. Okay. So how do we do? Time. What was our timing result on our first red?
8 minutes to make the first red.
8 minutes. And what about the first silver?
10:45.
Okay. That's not bad, right? So once the process got running, just the first one's hard to get, right? Once we fill up the coffer, right? Is anyone familiar with the concept of value stream mapping? Okay, so value stream mapping is the time it takes from start of the order to when it ships, right? We have a hard time rationalizing, computing. Well, it doesn't take that long to do it. Well, yeah, it may not take that long to do that job, but what's in front of it? When you put out order number 20, there's 19 in front of it. So it's like, I use the example. You're standing at Thunder Mountain at Disney World, unless you're smart enough to have the Fast Pass, right? You're standing in line. Your time to get on the ride is completely affected by how many people in front of you in line. If there's no one in line, you get right on the ride. It's less than 2 minutes, right? So the cycle time may be 2 minutes, but delivery may be 14 weeks. I did some work with a cosmetics manufacturer that made lip gloss. 12 seconds to fill it. 12 seconds. That's it, 12 seconds. But it took 120 days to deliver. It's like, that doesn't make any sense. Well, yeah. They make the bulk, they put it in a warehouse, thousands and thousands of gallons of goop, right? They put it in the warehouse, they made it way ahead, then it sits there, then they schedule the machine, they break the old stuff out, they clean it all out, then they put the new stuff in, they get QA to go, yeah, that looks good. A day later, they start production, they bring people over, they make the first piece, they wait an hour, that looks good, then they start running, 12 seconds, ka-ching, ka-ching. But it took months before they actually started filling it. Does that make sense? How much of it is non-value added? Like 98%? 98%. So how much opportunity is there to cut out waste? You could bunt and get a week, right? You could miss the bulb and still get time, right? Does anyone have examples of like that they do in their own production facility that things just don't move? They wait, right? Because we're in a long line at Thunder Mountain. We're just waiting for all the stuff in front of it, right? So our first red was at 8 and something, and the second was around 10.
The second one was second set of red was 14:58.
Okay. Well, that's pretty good. Because, so and how many do we have? We have 4, 8, 12, 16. Not bad. Not bad. Let's give them a round of applause. That's a record. I usually barely get to 12, if we're lucky. Yeah, they're pros. It gets the worst when you get all shop supervisors that do it, who haven't done like manufacturing work in a while. They have other people to do it for them. Right? It gets very interesting. What am I supposed to do with this? Well, you don't have the information, do you? Yeah, well, that's how they feel. Well, I know what it is. Why don't you know? Because you didn't tell me. Right? Like custom jobs. Engineers, oh yeah, we got all this, do this, use this, use it. Here you go do it. I'm going to go on to the next one. 3 weeks later when it finally hits production floor, right? Sometimes longer, or months. Hey, Mike, I got a question about this job. Well, what is it? Everything. What do I do with this? What do I do with this? Well, it's due next week. We need to work on it now. Oh, we're missing this part. Planner? When's this part coming in? What part? I didn't know I had to order that. And then every shop has a guru, the guy who gets it done against all odds, right? Everyone's got one of those guys. So he's usually the first one involved, right? The magic maker, right? He knows where to find stuff. And he's probably got hidden inventory in his toolbox and things like that. You know, the secret stash, right? So what worked well? Beautiful instructions? No? No? What worked well? Our stock guy was amazing. Very good. Very few defects considering the number of pieces you touched. That's near Six Sigma level. It's harder than it looks putting stuff in a bag, especially when everyone's staring at you. Right? Just waiting for you to make a mistake, right? So what worked well? There was a couple things that worked well, right? We had clear instructions on the work order. We knew what we needed to make. But what didn't we know well about it? Quantity. What was the delivery of it? Right? Oh, the sequence, right? You didn't understand what the real sequence was. He gave you the cards. I'm just going to do it. Now, there's probably opportunities to maybe batch some of those things. Well, if you're going to pick one bag to make 2 and then another bag to make 2, maybe you make 4, right? We do that now, right? We batch it together, right? Because the machine change over time and things like that, right? So we'll do that. That optimizes some of the machine time, right? What can we do better? There's a lot of things. We could be here all day. Location, right? Stockrooms over here, production facilities over there. You had mentioned point of view storage. I've had hundreds of arguments over that. I'm not going to take all that inventory and put it out on the production floor. What if it gets stolen? It can get stolen out of the stockroom too. Why have someone watching that? Who, John? He's never at his desk. Everyone just walks in there anyways and grabs what they want. No, they don't. Yeah, they do. Yeah, they do. No, that's not happening. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Right? Accountability. So what else could we do better? What else could we do better? What part of QA adds value? No offense to QA. Does QA add value to the process? Does anyone willing to pay for you to do it right? Extra. You expect it to be right. You don't buy the car and, oh, I expect it not to start when I get home. That's okay. I'll just wait, right? So what could be done differently next time?
Cross-training.
Cross-training. Okay. Point of view storage. That'll save a lot of activity. Poor parts guys just shoving stuff in a bag and sending it on, right? It's a lot of work. It takes a lot of energy to do that, right? And it also takes up a lot of space. A whole table of stock. A whole table. It's all stuff on it, right? So what else can be done differently? Yeah, point of views. What else? What about planning? You mentioned in Kanban. There's not that many variants, right? Could we Kanban something like this? So instead of waiting to get an order to start, we can have things in process at a staged interval that we can just ship one that's ready. Okay, customer, here you go. And then replace it. Does anyone do anything like that? You have something in, well, most of us call it stock. So we build 100 to put on a shelf, and then we pull them off as we need them. But then we schedule an order to replenish it, right? Okay, so that went pretty well. You guys set a record. I've never gotten to 12 before. And sometimes it was 30 minutes, let it keep going. It was a mess. It was a mess. We had 12 people too. Just not pretty. It was actually interesting to watch. And everyone was from production. We only had one manager. Right? So the tools. Some of you are familiar with lean manufacturing and the tools. Here's the list of general tools. Layout is one of them. Things should be where they're supposed to be. How many of you guys group operations by equipment? So all the CNCs in one corner, cuttings in one corner, but you make 30 or 40 or thousands of different products, right? Value stream mapping. How many of you truly understand what the time impact is on each and every step in the process? Does anyone really understand how long each step takes and how many things are sitting in queue? Oftentimes we don't, because we only look at the individual process, not the entire delivery, right? We don't usually group it, okay? Kaizen, continuous improvement bursts, high energy, high focused operation to improve an individual workflow, doing 5S, single piece flow, organizing the work cell for both ergonomics and productivity, as well as safety. 5S and visual controls. Does anyone use shadow boarding? Organize your tools. Only have what you need, not every single tool you've ever used in your toolbox. right? So you spend time looking for it. Standard work. This is key for companies that have a lot of turnover and complicated processes. If I don't understand what I'm supposed to do, I can't work effectively because I really don't know. Okay? Root cause, 5 whys. Why? Sounds stupid, right? Why ask the same question 5 times? That's not very lean, is it? No, right? But each time you should have a different answer, right? Tack time or flow versus batch. How many use single piece flow? And how many batch? Well, if we're going to make 100 of these a month, we might as well make all 100 at the same time. Maybe it makes sense depending on what your batching processes are and your processes, and maybe it doesn't. Single piece flow can provide significant improvements in delivery time. You may incur more changeover on equipment, which can be reduced as well, but delivery to the customer improves, which means what? You get to bill more, right? Is it more valuable as a company to have more things in stock or more things in your customer's hands with an invoice? Invoices, right? Everyone likes to get paid on time, right? You can't get paid till you ship it, right? Tack time. This is the heartbeat of the factory, how fast you need to make each individual project to meet their demand. It's completely dictated by the customer. Many people have the understanding that tack time is dictated by you. It is not. The customer determines. If more customers order things, your tack time changes. Used to be when you started, okay, we can make 1 every 5 minutes. We got more orders. Now we get to do it every 4.5. Now we got more orders. Now we're going to do it in 4. So what happens? We're at the end of the line at Thunder Mountain, way at the end. You're going to wait longer because our capacities are built around a certain process, a certain time. And it's very hard for companies to flex down and up because our work cells and our processes and our MRPs are built to go at a certain rate. So it's hard to change that when you have a regimented process. Okay? Push versus pull. Instead of pushing it through the process like we're doing here, we can pull it with Kanban type of operation. I have one ready, and your order is whoever takes that piece, make one to fill it. I don't care if there's an order for it, fill it. If you run out of parts, let planning know. When you hit that reorder point, get more parts. Keep it ready. But like, yeah, but why would I make things that no one asked for yet? I say, well, you're already doing it, but you're doing it in work orders and you're putting them into stock, right? It's the same concept with a lot less parts and WIP. Total productive maintenance. Is anyone here practicing TPM? Right? What happens when your machines aren't on? Things don't ship. Holes don't get drilled. Painting doesn't get done. Customers don't get their products. And the worst part, as we saw over here, is when a line didn't have parts, they stood there and do nothing, right? They could be completing a customer order. Sometimes those are relevant to machine downtime. Well, the operation ahead of me is down today, so I got nothing to drill. So I'm going to take a 2-hour lunch break, right? Meanwhile, you're losing all that time. You can't get time back. And visual management. I've gone to companies with expensive, fancy, homegrown planning systems and inventory, and everyone schools and games it. They use their Excel sheets to plan and organize, right? Keep things simple. How many do I need to make today? What do they need to be? When do they do? That's it. That's all I need to know. And if I have work instructions, I need to have the instructions to make it, right? And if it's inside of a computer, not everyone can access it, right? Take the power away from the planner and put it into the power of the people who do the work. Here's what we need to do. Here's our plan. Do this, and when it's done, cross it off. That's it. Very simple. Yeah, but you don't recommend a SAP system? Like, why? The only one person who has a license for it is in the office who doesn't know what you guys are doing anyways. He just puts it in by the orders. He puts it in there and says, here you go do it. I don't know what they do, right? The more experience they have, they understand how to manage it. But until they get to that point, they're just giving information, but they don't really know the impact. And production's like, why are you giving me this? I got one of these yesterday. You could have given it to me then. I could have did them both already. And you're already cussing them out. They don't know what they're doing, right? They don't. They don't understand. Okay? This is what we say we do, right? It's perfect. It's smooth. It's organized. This is what really happens, right? Sometimes worse. I did one a couple weeks ago. They went in and out of the stockroom 145 times. I was like, you got to be kidding me. Well, I go in, I get the connectors when I'm doing the electrical panel. I get these connectors and I go back. I'm like, why don't you just put all the connectors in your work cell? Oh, we're not allowed to take inventory out without checking it out. I'm like, do you really check it out? He goes, no. So they go back and forth with a cup. with Dixie cups and little solo cups, and they put the connectors in it, little wire connectors that cost like 12 cents. Back and forth, 147 times in and out. Does that make any sense? You should have saw the spaghetti map. I started to use like 8 or 10 different colors. It was almost like painting, like my 5-year-old, going back and forth, back and forth. It was only 30 feet. 30 feet times 145 trips is a long walk, right? It's a long walk. Does that add any value for the customer? The joke everyone is, oh, how are we going to stay fit if we don't do all that walking? We're going to stay trim because we're going to do all this walking. You take that out, we're all going to put on weight. It's like, don't worry about that. You can put a treadmill in your break room. Okay? Value stream mapping. You select a product family, make a current state drawing. And the current state is all the truth, what really goes on. What are you really doing? How many double checks are you doing to an order before you give it to the shop? Right? Like I said, I find a lot of things that are being done in administrative that make less sense than what anyone would imagine ever. Why are you doing this? I had one woman, she was doing credit checks on customers. She was in order entry. 4 days she would hold up an order before she released it to the shop. We're doing the value stream map. The president was like, why are you doing this? You're not an accounts receivable. She's like, well, remember that time we put it in the order and I had to call it back, so I want to make sure we don't do that again. I'm like, yeah, but that was 1 out of like 30,000 orders. Oops, you make one mistake, that's no big deal. 4 days delayed to just tell the shop. Production manager's like, just give it to me. I'm making it anyways. Now I can segregate it and I can allocate that for the customer. And she's like, oh, okay. So like, okay, 4 days. Do not check. Let accounts payable do their job, right? People develop their own things that they do, thinking they're doing things for the better. But how often do we see begin to end of the entire production process? Does anyone in here understand every little nuance that happens from the beginning to the end? Even in small shops, it's kind of hard to find all these things, right? These little things that people do. Oh, I do this because of this. But why? Well, that's what I'm supposed to do. Is it? Does it help? I think so. Maybe it does, maybe it doesn't, right? And then the future state. After we find all the things that we're doing right and wrong, we find opportunities to cut out waste. How many times I've had these value stream maps and people make photocopies and email stuff, and the first thing that happens to the photocopies, it goes into the recycling bin. I'm like, why are you walking? Some like multi-building sites, half acre, she drives around, brings photocopies, and then they throw it in the trash. I'm like, what are you printing it for? I was told to print it. Who told you to print it? When I started here 20 years ago, we printed it out. So why are you still printing it? Okay, do you need to print it? So don't print it. And I was like, yeah, I don't know why she gives it to me. I throw it in the trash. Okay, problem solved. Next problem, right? There's always things like that, right? We're probably doing some of those ourselves, right? So we find a future state. We design a new flow based on common sense, on what we really need to do by understanding what is really going on, all the little things, even if they're silly, right? Joe goes over to stockroom to get more tape. He does this. He gets a pallet. The pallets are stored in the back of the parking lot, so he has to steal a fork truck from Tom, who needs it to load the machine. So he steals his truck, and then he drives it all the way to the other side. And when it's raining out, he does other things that he's not supposed to do. And then he brings the pallets over, and then he does that. And then the saw's looking for his truck, and he's chasing him around, so nothing's getting cut because he's got the only fork truck. Yeah. You're laughing a lot, right? You must have a very interesting place. Yeah.
Definitely interesting.
Oh yeah. And half of it we don't realize we're even doing it. We just do it. That's what we do. Why? What's the problem? I don't see anything wrong. Oh yeah, we've always done it like that. If I had a nickel. Oh man. Right? Anyone familiar with 5S? Right? Very simple. Sort, set, shine, standardize, and sustain. The two hardest things to do, standardize and sustain. Impossible in some cases. We do a really good job at 3S. We get it cleaned up, we go, wow, we did a great job. And then 6 months later, it looks like a bomb hit it, right? The most important tools to this are the ones of repeatability. What is it supposed to look like when you're done, right? Well, hey, I put it on the table. Well, why doesn't it have a location? Because what happens if something doesn't have a home? It migrates, it moves. Someone borrows your tape measure. Well, it's supposed to go back there. Well, you know what's missing when you have a shadow board. You know something's missing. Hey, who took my scissors? Oh, I have them, right? Usually I paint them all one color so you know who stole it from where. Otherwise, they have a tendency to walk and people they scratch out the names and put their names on it, right? And sustain. What's our program to keep this going? We need to keep this 3S. Every day we need to get it back, keep it clean. Every single day, without fail. Right? The changeover cart looks great, right? What's on this cart? Wow, look at the cart now. There's not that much on it, right? That's not a bad thing. To have 2 or 3 things on a cart, it's a good cart. Because now you have space for other things, right? But they shouldn't stay, right? Because every day it should go back to the same condition, right? Only what you need. I love to use this one. Look at all those work orders on the top. How many labor hours does it take to make this paper? Anyone here do planning? No? It's a lot of work going into planning. And then for every one of those orders, you got to check stock. We need more planners, right? We need to do a better job at planning. Do we need to do a better job at planning? Oh, good. No one said yes, right? This could be several thousand hours of man hours to just organize and plan and print out paper, and usually more than one copy, because this guy gets his work order and this person gets their work order. Stock guy gets his work order. The co-planner gets an email with a copy there, which they never read, by the way, right? And over we do this. Shadow board, what's missing? A little staple gun missing. Easy to see, right? You know, the best part of this is the wheels. What's the dirtiest part of the shop? Underneath equipment, right? It's so hard to clean. Or if you use the air gun, you blow it around. Right? The air brooms. Shine. Well, this looks great, right? Beautiful. If you bring in customers, you try to show them this or you try to keep them away from it? Yeah. But if you have a brand new piece of equipment, that's the first thing you show them, right? Look at our new automated, best thing in the world, spaghetti machine. Look at this, it's great. Everything's organized and cleaned and has lights on it and a control panel. This is our showpiece. Look at what I bought. And then 3 years later, you don't show anyone anymore, right? Right. Wow, look at that. How hard is it to give it a paint job? Does anyone else's car run better right after they wash it? Mine runs great, right? Right after you wash it and vacuum it, it's like a brand new car again, right? And it doesn't smell like McDonald's French fries that the kids crush into the seat, right? Which environment would you rather work in? Which creates better morale? Dirty and greasy and grimy, where you wear special clothes to work because you're afraid to destroy them? Or nice and clean and organized with nothing on the floor, right? This is a very organized tool room. Just have a pump room here. Here's a standardized chart. These are the expectations. And the key thing to these are responsible people. Who's responsible? Who's responsible for the daily upkeep? Who's responsible to make sure the people that are doing the daily upkeep are doing the daily upkeep? And it doesn't always have to be a shop manager, right? It could be a supervisor or a team lead, right? Because we all live in the same space, right? Standardization, creating color codes. You can make it anything you want. Brady has a great table that they use. Most places make their own. You can use any colors you want, a combination, because disseminating information through color code and through number systems or sequences is very easy. So that anything blue or green or red, you can say red is always scrap, right? It's usually a common color, and blue is whip or raw goods. Just making color code standardization so that everyone speaks the same language. I deal a lot in multilingual manufacturing environments. We'll have French, German, Spanish, Italian in the same place. Does everyone speak the same language? Sometimes, sometimes not. And language isn't just about speech. Hey, can you go get me a clamp? What kind of clamp? An open toe clamp. What's an open toe clamp? I don't know what an open toe clamp is. Well, do you all speak the same language? Yeah, it's a clamp. Well, it's a clamp to you. It's a what to him? Oh, I have a pair of channel locks. You know, people don't know what a channel lock is? A what? Oh, picture. This is a channel. Oh, I know what that is. That's that clampy thing. Okay, now it has a name. So now you can speak the same language. How do you communicate with someone if they don't understand what you're saying? Well, go get me the pliers. Well, what kind of pliers? Needle nose pliers? Journeyman's pliers? What do you want? Go get me the pliers. Well, which ones? You bring me. No, I didn't want those ones. Well, what do you mean? You said get pliers. Right? Sounds stupid, right? But how many places I go, they don't speak the same language. Amazing. Amazing, right? Go get me this. A what? I don't understand. After a while they work there, they all start to speak the language. And then the new guys come in, a what? Oh, you don't know what that is? Right? How many people have a standard level of communication? What is what? Like a library of this is what we call this. Because every company has their own little names for things, and some are self-created. They make these little clamps and devices or little jigs, and they have certain names for them. Right? It may not actually even match the product name. Right? I went one place, they have a punching machine they call the Chitty Chitty Bang Bang. And that's its name. That's the name of the machine, and it's on the routing. The CCBB. And I'm like, what's a Chitty Chitty Bang Bang? Oh, it's that machine, those three over there. CCBB1, CCBB2, and CCBB3. So I'm like, really? Okay. So that's what you call it, right? But it's all about language and communication. If you don't have a standard method of communication, how do you tell someone and instruct them if they're new, go get me these things, and you can do the job? They'll be like, what's a journeyman's pliers? You'd be surprised. People don't understand, right? Important part of this is to let the team, let the group, the users of the equipment, the users of the process, help create the standards, right? Now, you can let them start at an easy point, and then as you improve, you push the boundaries to a little tighter and tighter, but start off at a comfortable pace. You don't start off intending for failure, right? You start off, okay, here's our goal. It's not huge, but it's small, and you obtain it. Okay, we hit this mark. We can do better, right? Let's set a new goal. Let's move it a little further forward, right? There's no easy button to lean. It takes time. The whole point is that it's continuous. It's never ending, right? As technologies get developed and improvements, and you come up with new ideas as you try and learn new things, you get better at it. And then it gets easier and easier, right? Posted visual checklist, very easy. The checklist shouldn't be in a 3-ring binder on the manager's desk. It should be on a poster directly on the wall. Put these 3 things back or we're going to have a conversation. That's it, simple. This one here is a more detailed version, but very simple checklist. Do this, this, and this every day, and check those 3 or 4 things off. Right? It doesn't have to be 100 things. Be simple. Point of use workstations. Let's here on a Tiger Stop. We have some edge banding organization. These are right next to the edge bander, and these are the colors for high temp that don't get used very often. We put them under the bench because they're not as frequent. We made a little saucer to put the ring on so that it doesn't unwind, and you drop it right on the edge bander. Very simple, right? Multi-station setup so that you don't need separate jigs set up. You make 3 little machines and you can do 3, 4 different things at one step, right? It's not an expensive investment to buy a couple different presses, right? A little small benchtop arbor press, $200. It costs you more in change over time if you decide not to, right? Make things simple. Here's an organized cabinet. That one to the right is a homemade refrigeration recovery setup. Has all the tools to do the brazing, the crimping, the clamping, and the refilling of the gases. This was for a tissue processing facility. They made machines that did tissue processing and testing for dermatologist laboratories. They refurbished almost 1,600 pieces of equipment a year with 3 people. Lots of little machines, little desktop things, right? Standard work, the best way to accomplish a task that optimizes people, machines, methods, and materials, right? Is everything in your facility optimized for all of those things? What I see most often is things are maximized and optimized for the machine because we focus on the machine output. Great. So what do I ship if I get 5 of my machines out of my 30 optimized really well? What do I get? What more ships? But where the real bottlenecks are. Is it the people? Is it the machine? Is it the material? Or is it our methods? It's a combination of all of them, right? So standard work helps identify those things, right? Because you all know the guy who's the guru who gets stuff done. He has his own way of doing stuff, and he's the guy you call when nothing else works. But usually he's a little combative with people. He's that guy you ask him minimal questions because you know he's going to find a way to jab you on everyone should be doing it like I do it. Well, maybe he's got something important to say. Maybe some of the things he does are completely asinine. Maybe they're not, but he knows something you don't, right? So what makes sense that you do? Go through his process, make sense of what does and what doesn't make sense, improve upon it, and then make it the standard way to do something. Oh, but we do custom things. Well, you don't have to itemize everything, but you can have a standard sequence, right? I do this, and then I do this, and then I do this, because these are the way you need to do it. Because if you do this first, you're not going to be able to get that on, right? How many times you've had to uninstall something or take something apart because you forgot something, right? We've all done it. I've done it. IKEA furniture, anyone? Right? Specifies how, what, who, when to do something, right? The sequence is very important. It can be also used for unjamming a copier or a setup of a projector. This is standard work. This is a very fancy version, but you don't have to be an engineer to understand how to hook it up. Minimal instructions, little pictures go a long way. Pictures with minimal instructions. Too much words people don't read. No one likes to read. But if you say put this in that hole, you're good. With a little picture and an arrow, works great. Right? The 5 whys. Just like a doctor, you ask questions. You look for symptoms. But symptoms are the result of what? The result of an underlying problem. Is it always the first thing you see that's the problem, or is it usually a little bit deeper? It's usually a little deeper, right? Well, why is this getting scratched? Who scratched this? Well, let's go upstream. What does it touch? What touches the surface throughout the process? Okay, so why does this do this? Okay, maybe that's not it. You go up another level. Oh, it's getting scratched because when you go to pick it up, the bottom sheets always get scratched because when we slide the stack over, it gouges the thing because this little barb on the table. Well, we could fix that. We can file it down. Okay, that goes away. Did that solve the problem? Maybe. Maybe not. Maybe some, but not all, right? You need to get to the underlying cause. You need to ask more questions, and don't be afraid to be uncomfortable, because sometimes things are deliberately done pure ignorance. I'm doing this. This is how I do it. I don't realize that happens. No one ever told me about it, right? That happens a lot. Well, I didn't know about that. No one told me. If you told me, I would stop doing that. Well, no one told me. So why are you blaming me? So we're not blaming you. We want to find out what's going on. How can we help you help yourself? Let's fix the problem so that Joe and Jake don't have to retouch up, paint this thing every time, right? Let's not scratch it. Let's save them the work, okay? The 5 whys. Why is it stopped? Is it tripped? A circuit breaker? Is there an overload? Is there sufficient oil in the machine? Yes? No? Is the oil pump working? Is the pump not efficient enough for what we're doing? I see this a lot when people stretch machines beyond their capacity, right? We overramp them, and they hit that breaking point where they're not quite broken, but they're about to, right? Is the pump drive shaft worn? Is this the right pump? Was it replaced with the wrong part 10 years ago and it's worked up till now, right? Because that's all I could get, so I put that in there to make it work, because I needed to get it running. But because it was running, no one ever went back to make sure I had the right part. I see that time and time again in the packing industry. We just slap that one on there, we'll get it running. 10 years later, wow, it's still running? Yep. Is it running well? No, not really, but it's on, right? Why is the shaft worn out? Why is this pump broken? Why is it failing? Is the machine old? Does it need to be replaced? Does it need a different type of pump, right? What's the root cause? This is a concept of lean and single piece flow versus batching. Some of you are very familiar with this. Which delivers the part to the customer faster, batching or single piece flow? Remember the Thunder Mountain line, right? It takes a lot longer if there's batches of people in groups, because you got to get through all those other things. I've got this argument hundreds of times. Yeah, but if I can set this machine up and make 100, I might as well make 100. Yeah, but those time you're making the other 99, your new order is waiting for 99 things to happen. Oh, it's going to take me 40 minutes to change the machine over. I'm like, okay, it takes you 40 minutes now. What if we can bring it down to 10 minutes? That's crazy. You can't do that. You're crazy. That's impossible. Well, it's impossible the way you do it, but how should it be done? I did one with a cosmetics company. They refused. They said I was out of my mind. There's no way we could change this over faster. I said, yeah, but the machine's designed for it. So they would break the machine down. They'd have people standing there waiting. In 6 hours, they would take everything apart, tell all the parts all the way across the facility to the washroom, and clean out one hose at a time. 6 hours later, they come over, they hook everything back up, they pour the gunk back in, and they start running again. 6 hours later. Oh, it's end of day. Say, why are we even doing that? Why don't we get another set of nozzles, another set of hoppers, get it ready to go? Does NASCAR put the tire on the wheel at the stop, or does the tire already on the wheel? Tire's already on the wheel, right? So why put the tire on the wheel while the car is stopping and you're losing the race? Yeah, but you don't understand. We can't do that. It's like, why not? So that's what we did. We went from 6 hours to 22 minutes. They're like, no, there's no way you're doing it. I take it out, put it in, take it out, put it in, done. Change the sticker, change the label, the next shade, pink 101 instead of pink 102. And you turn it on again. Set the fill weight, you're ready to go, right? It's about taking things from internal process to external process. Very simple. Some of it's easy to do, some of it's a little more difficult, right? And all this has to do, we batch because of machine setup times. I can't do that because I need to do another setup, so let me make a month's worth of parts, right? That makes more sense, right? Are we learning to see? Right? Some of our habits are both beneficial and not beneficial. We create our own waste, sometimes for better or worse, right? So the lead time is significantly faster if you can get through all the 3 steps right away, right? Instead of waiting for 99 other things to be done before process B begins, right? Key benefits for quick changeover. Improved delivery, flexible response for customers. Hey, I changed my mind. I want 8 of these and 10 of those. Okay, no problem. Right? Reduce lead time, decrease costs, increase capacity. Well, how do you increase capacity if we're doing more changeovers? Right? If you're making 1,000 things that you don't need, why not make 999 other ones that you do need? Right? I did this presentation with a medical device company that made implants for human bodies. They had optimized their machine setups and product runtimes for 24 pieces, no matter what it was. So how many infants get spinal and knee replacements? Like 1 every 10 years. But they made 24 pieces, no matter what, because that's what the machine's optimized for. But for your invincible 32-year-old at 50 to 53 millimeter size cups, that's their 99% of their volume. So they're jamming up production, making 23 pieces they don't need, which takes 160 days. While the high volume stuff is already on order and they're pushing it out, right? I call it inflated demand, artificial demand. You're deliberately batching things to optimize the machine instead of the customer's benefit. We need to think about the customer. Yeah, you might spend an hour extra a month or a week or a day doing changeover, but you're going to make less stuff that you're not going to sell, right? Which means less warehouse space, improved delivery. The customers want it now. They don't want to wait for you to make stuff to put in stock. They don't care, right? Everyone here, we all have Amazon syndrome, right? Instant buy, right? Our patience have dropped. We want it right away, right? Why should I wait? How long does it take you? It only takes 16 seconds to put it in the vial. Why do I have to wait 3 months? It makes no sense to me as a customer, right? This is a cellular layout. It's the same version with increased capacity. Everything's linear. This is for lower production. This is for higher production. You can add staff, detract staff. If the processes are built accordingly, you can ramp up and slow down accordingly based on your demand without adding more equipment. Looking at changeovers, right? How often are sudden demands ever planned, right? How often is forecasting ever right? You have to be able to respond when it's time to respond. If I had a crystal ball, I could be a millionaire. It's like, yes, in 6 months, you're going to get a sudden order for this number of things, so buy extra now, all right? Or make these extra ones, because you're going to get them. Like, no one knows that's coming. It'll come all of a sudden at the worst time, and you'll have to figure out a way, right? And we do, but at great cost, right? The idea is to optimize things before they need to happen. Set it up to do this, and then ramp it down, instead of, okay, this is what we're going to do, and then try to ramp it up. What happens when you try to overrun things? Quality defects, rework. What was happening here, right? Make more, just make it now. Oops, I made a mistake, rework. What do we do? Oh, so-and-so's on vacation. Who else can do this? I don't know, I think Tom can do it, so have Tom do it. Then Tom makes more mistakes because Tom's not trained well. So then when Luke comes back from vacation, what's going on here? You destroyed what's going on? Oh, what happened? Well, why are we not prepared for that? We know that we're in business, right? How many people can do the same process? Everywhere I go, oh, he's our main guy. Who else can do it? Yeah, I know we really should cross-train somebody. What do you mean you should? You should have already done it. What are you waiting for? Oh, we're really busy right now. Perfect time. Have them cross-train with them. There's lots to do. Yeah, but then we need someone else for there. You got to start somewhere, right? What happens when it's too late? You have to do it. And then you end up paying the price another way, right? Because it's coming no matter what. That day is going to come. He hits the lottery, whatever, or he retires, and okay, can you stay on a couple more months and train him in everything you've ever learned in the past 30 years? Yeah, that's going to happen overnight. Right? I'm dealing with a customer right now. Their guy retired 3 months ago, and now they're in panic mode. Like, so remember what we talked about? Writing down what he knows, all that intellectual property. Did you do that? No, we didn't get to it. So now what are you going to do? He's like, I don't know. Man, we didn't realize all the stuff that he was doing. Why? Why not? Because when he's not there, you can feel it, right? This U-shaped work cell, this is one I did for a lighting assembly. Very small. These 3 pieces of equipment used to be spread across the entire facility. We put them all right next to each other. Grease and test and solder. 1 minute and 47 seconds cycle time per light. It used to be like 4 or 8 minutes depending on when stuff got moved. It would take 18 days to make one lighting assembly for a truck trailer lamp. Like, it's less than a minute, right? Tools of lean, Kanban systems that we talked about, right? Don't overbuy, don't overmake. Fill a queue, replace it when you need it, right? How much do you need, when do you need, how much, and where do you need it? Sometimes you need it more in one location. Tools of lean, customer satisfaction, the right part at the right time at the right quantity. It's easier said than done, right? Right. Reduced overhead, management by sight, making things visual. Just put it on a whiteboard, keep it simple. Don't create some complicated sheet that only one person knows how to create and one person understands how to read, right? Email should not be the primary correspondence. It should be whiteboards and very clear instructions and color coding. This is the message for the day. Make me 5 of these and 5 of those. Go do it. It's due by the end of the day. Here's our target. Here's what you made. This is our delta, right? And what's our tack time? You need to make X amount by lunch. If you're not on that, say something. Not wait till 2 o'clock. Yeah, we're going home now. We're not even close. I'll see you later. Right? Because what does that mean? Yeah, we're going to get overtime. Overtime's good for them, but it's not good for the company or the customers. If you start driving your cost up, what happens? You've got to raise your price. You raise your price, what happens? Your competitors may be doing a better job. You don't want them to win. You want to win, right? If your costs go up, unless you want to eat it, which no one does, right? Team employee managed. Let the team manage themselves. Give them the training, the cross-training, and the signals and information they need to do the job. They're the experts at the process. Let them do their job. Over-managing them just confuses them. Right? Pull system diagram. Very straightforward. You pull from the Kanban locations and you pull it forward. Customer takes the products. Information comes in. Give me some of these. You ship out the part, and the instant signal goes up the stream. Replace this part. That's it. No instructions. Okay, someone took that and make one. That's it. I did one a few years ago with 22 accountants in a room, and we did a time-wise simulation to build clocks, something like this. We went from building 3 clocks in 20 minutes to 164. And half the time, people just standing there, they're like, I'm not doing anything. I'm like, yeah, that's the point. This is so easy. Why is this so easy? Like the first 2 exercises, there was chaos. Why is this so easy? Well, because you're taking out all the waste, right? If I have to send a signal to you to start something, it takes time for that information to be delivered, right? By the time you receive it, you've already lost time. And is it the right information? But if you already have a set regimen of instructions, make this when it gets taken, then you already know what to do. And you just repeat, right? Even for custom things, there's standard elements that can be done ahead of time. Okay? Information flows simply right through short cycles. It doesn't go up to management or MRP system, it's right at point of use. And the supplier gets the same simulation. So this is the one-piece flow. I need some of the same volunteers or new ones. We're going to do 20 towers. How are we doing on time? Okay, so we have some time. The same exercise, we're going to build 4, 4, and 12, right? Same teams. We only need 5 production workers for this one. And we need plenty of observers. And we need a manufacturing engineer. And we'll have some same timers. And we need a material coordinator. Do we have some volunteers? Manufacturing engineer sets up the point of view storage logistics. So manufacturing engineer. Can't be me. Okay, so we're going to set up point of view storage. We need to reset all of it. So put everything back into the bins, break it down, and you can set these up for the station. And here's our Kanban cans. They go right in the middle of each station. You can just pick those up. And our instructions are the same. We're building the same thing. So will you guys break that down real quick? Okay, how's the reset going?
We're using the same
Same everything.
everything.
We don't need the cards anymore.
About the shop order card.
We don't need them. We're not going to do planning the same way this time. We're going to do a Kanban system. We're going to do a pull system. Okay, so the manufacturing engineer will set up the point of view storage. Stock bins will be provided and labeled accordingly. Some of them have duplicates already, or you can use a blank. We have a materials coordinator for this exercise. They'll pick up the completed towers and transact to finished goods inventory, just like we were doing before. What we're doing is we're cutting out all the information flow. Right? Okay? And they'll move to shipping and packaging. We can pretend package, we don't have a station for that. Production workers will start assembly when all parts have been located. So once we set up, once we have our volunteers for the assembly line, once we're reset, you'll build to your Kanban. Which means the station information, what you have in front of you is what you build to. So you'll build it up and you'll stop. You'll leave whip in one piece and you'll freeze. And only when a Kanban shelf in front is empty, when that part has been taken, will you then begin work to replace it. You don't no longer plan or schedule, make 5 of these and just keep building. You'll build when someone takes your toys. That's it. Okay? No advanced assembly or preparation is allowed. People always try to cheat and they build a few extra. It's not allowed, right? Okay. The process will continue until 20 towers are completed. This is where we usually make 20 in no time. 16 red top and 4 silver top. Very simple. Same as we were doing before. Same product, same customers, different process, right? We're trying to eliminate all the information delays, as well as stuffing a work order into a bag and then stuffing parts as a kit into a bag. That all comes out with this. So all that time and energy and resources that gets allocated to making things that customers aren't willing to pay for, that gets eliminated. Okay. So timer. When the first tower is started in the production cell like before, but only when the process starts, and then when the first tower is received in the finished goods inventory. Normally this is under a minute. Okay? Then the time when the first silver tower is received into finished goods inventory, and then when the last tower at 20 is received into finished goods inventory. Sound very familiar, right? Almost the same, only all the information flow is cut out. All of the planning is thrown out. All of the production work orders are thrown out. The inventory handling is thrown out. All of that stuff, those are all forms of waste, right? All the activity was over here for the first 7 minutes. Work didn't start till like minute 3 when we kicked some orders over to get them started. And then they spent most of their time idle after we got running, right? Station 2, 4, and 5 had a lot of idle time, right? A lot of slack capacity, right? That could be fulfilling custom orders, right? We'll calculate times for red top tower, minutes and seconds, and silver top, minutes and seconds, and how long it takes to make 20. So do we have any wagers here? How long do you think it's going to take? First piece. 2 minutes? I think it's under 1. You've got 2. Who's got 2 minutes? You got 2? 4 minutes. 40 seconds? Okay, we got 40 seconds. Optimist. Any pessimist? No?
So this one right here, you gotta have.
So the observers, you'll monitor, same as before. You'll be looking for quality control effectiveness. You'll be looking for work in progress when 12 towers are completed. We're looking for team work and morale, right? And it's good to see them not struggling, right? When they're like, wow, this is easy. That's good. Imagine if work was like that every day, where it was like no sweat, right? You'd have fewer people frustrated. You'd have fewer meetings, right? Right? Rework requirements, process constraints, and what you'll see elimination of is work availability and materials. Why? Because it's at their point of use now. They're not waiting on material handling to stick it in a bag and bring it over to them, right? Because they don't know it exists until it shows up at their workbench, right? That's like real world. If we're doing that, they could make use of that time while he's stuffing stuff in a bag, right? Workstation effectiveness and any line stoppages. We saw lots of line stoppages in the previous exercise because he didn't have anything to do. He didn't have parts. Well, I can't do anything, right? So what happens? Nothing gets done, right? In the real world, they stretch it out because they know there's nothing else to do, right? Like I said before, they stretch it out. They make a 1-hour process into a 3-hour process because they don't want to be caught standing there doing nothing, right? No one's going to do that. They'll think they're going to get fired or they're going to get reprimanded. Well, really, it's planning and production and materials' fault, but I don't want to get that discussion, so I won't do that. I'll make sure I look busy. So that's what I'll do. I'll sand it some more, right? Okay. Okay, volunteers. One more. This is the fun one. This one makes it easy.
What do you want? Either one, anyone?
Is this a production line?
Yeah.
Okay, so like he'll make the parts, the base, and then it'll come down? Okay, it's not all going down to a final assembly.
What you're going to do is right now, even though there's no orders, you're going to build up to this stage. No timer. So he's going to build a station of a finished part. You'll make what you see at station 1, put it in the bin. He'll take it, then you'll make 1. So you'll make 2, you'll make 2. And you fill up the buffer, okay? This is not cheating. This is what a Kanban is. It's being ready for the order, not waiting for the order.
Yep. Oh, you put yours in there and then I do it?
Yep. Are we ready?
Build up. We don't start the timer yet.
So all of us need to have one subassembly, right?
Yep. Yep. You'll have 1 in your Kanban.
Oh, everybody should have one in the Kanban then?
Yep. So he'll take yours, you'll build 1 more, and you'll have it in your Kanban. And then when he takes your piece, you'll build another one to fill it. And you don't do anything until he takes your parts.
So I put one in here first and then build another one.
Yep. And he'll take yours. It'll fill up the buffer.
I dropped mine for me. I'm off 40 seconds. I'm down to 50. I'm down to 12 seconds.
12 seconds? Wow, he is optimistic. You guys better not let him down. 12 seconds.
Right, so take,
Remembering, we're going to measure from here to there, not just the finish. That's the first one. It's the replenishment time. It's the replenishment time. So 12 seconds. You want to change your number?
I'm not sure the
Less than 1 minute. But these guys set a record for the hard one, so I'm thinking they'd probably be like 30 seconds. I'm ready to be surprised. Okay. Are we ready? Okay, so you'll make 1.
This guy's
Okay. Yep. You should have a finished one. You should have a finished one ready to ship.
a finished tower?
And there's no QA anymore.
Okay. So how do the sub-assemblies get assembled? By one person?
Everyone's going to build 2. You're going to build 1 to a finished good, and then you'll have 1 in your Kanban ready to start.
Everybody needs to build 2. Got it.
Yep. You'll build 1 red top and 1 gray top.
Got it.
So do I take this and put this together?
Entire tower?
Everybody's supposed to build 2 of their subassemblies.
Fill your Kanban.
Yeah.
This is the hardest part to explain because we're not used to this type of production.
I
Yep.
don't know what a Kanban is.
This is your pull. This is your push. So he's going to take from here. You're going to take from here.
Okay, so
So
I take from here, add to it, and put it in there. Okay, all right, I got it.
yep. And you'll build 2 complete towers. You're waiting for him. So this is our build up time. And then we'll be in a ready state to react to a customer order. It's a little hard to explain because it's unnatural. We never really run things like this. We're building before there's an order, right? And we're not building to stock like we would normally do is, hey, let's build 3,000 of these and put them in the warehouse up the street or across the country, right? That's how we normally do it. Make me 1,000 of each and put them in stock. And when they order, you ship it. And then when it's time, we'll run another work order to make 1,000 or 3,000 or whatever it is more. And then we'll fill the buffer again. This is an instant reactionary where I order a gray top, no work orders are issued at all. He'll just make another one for the bin. And I order a red one, the same will trigger down, right? You'll see once it's in motion and how fast the response is, because we're not planning ahead and building up. We're in a fast response position.
They're already manufactured. You're only supposed to have one ready to go.
Yep. You have one in your Kanban. You'll have nothing on your workbench but something in your Kanban. So you'll have 2 ready to go, and you'll have 2 of these, one in each Kanban. So you have a,
He's about to use those.
okay? Yeah, this is always the hardest part to explain. This is not how we normally think. Not timed yet.
Really?
Okay, so you have one for your Kanban. That goes in here.
Oh, we've been building.
And he gets one.
Am I supposed to assemble the total tower?
Yep,
The entire tower?
you have stock.
So he's just gonna build the whole tower and put it in.
Do we have too many? Oh, we have one too many production cells.
Yeah.
So this is finished goods. You're the stock guy. So one red tower and one gray tower. Okay, so your Kanban is full. Okay, when he takes one of these out, you're going to replenish it. That's your job. And this will have the version of this and this in stock. And yep, yep.
But you're only supposed to have one.
Well, you only have one. You got to take those apart.
We're ahead.
Overdid. Only one. Okay, just one. This always happens.
I don't know where that guy came from.
These pictures on the front are a little misleading.
Yeah, they can be.
Actually,
Yeah.
Those are parts, and some of them are
those
subs.
are all individual parts, not a
Yeah. Okay, you're good. We'll leave it like that.
We might get 12 seconds because we've already got like 6 minutes.
Okay, these will go back into stock.
Well, now you're just working back.
Those will go back in stock. When he takes this one, you take this and add the parts to it,
Okay.
All this should be
right?
broken down.
Don't look at the label.
You should
on it,
only
just
have
look at
one
the
of those in there.
Yeah, we built too many.
Because you have one, here's yours.
So your Kanban is this.
Have one in here. That looks
You're gonna have this in there. That's it.
Huh?
I only built 2. Somehow we built like 20.
Well, we got going.
And we did that faster than we did before.
We got into an assembly line. Just start making.
Yeah, it was pretty quick.
You can't build anything until this is empty.
So how long was that? It was like first one was under a minute, right?
Oh, I got you, yeah.
You got yours, and he pulls it, you build another one.
Got it.
Okay.
You got yours.
Your Kanban's full. Your Kanban's full. These go back into stock.
Super overachiever, you're just gonna break all down.
Your Kanban is full.
You're good. You're good. You gotta break these down. You can't use those until.
Yeah.
until
You
I
have
pull
this
these,
only.
Then you build another one.
When he pulls that one, you take this and add your components.
Okay. All
Okay.
right. I get it.
When he takes yours, you pull his and build that one to replace it. Okay? This feels unnatural, doesn't it? That's why it's always so difficult, because this is not how we normally think. We never think like this.
You gotta break them all down.
Yeah, those come apart. You need some parts back. Yep. Normally I use the paper cards, but you can use the bins. Same as fine. Okay. So you guys are ready?
What if we leave some assemblies?
Slang, is that an acronym?
It's a Japanese term. It's like rapid.
We're going backwards.
We're going backwards, you want to take it?
It's a point of use type of storage system that instead of putting finished goods in their finished state and bulk amounts into stock, it's putting things into a stationary element in width. They're not finished, they're ready for the next stage. So it's basically like if your factory line was running and then you stopped it and froze it until someone took one off the end and then it slid forward. And you know what's like, you ever do skee ball? You take the ball out, they roll forward, it's the same concept. You keep taking that ball and it fills forward. Same thing. Exactly. So instead of loading a magazine all at one time, you're putting one in every time you shoot a bullet. You're reloading one at a time. So there's no planning, just keep it full. Okay, they took one, full it up. It feels very unnatural.
Yeah.
It's completely opposite way we think of running a manufacturing facility. Okay, it looks like we're ready. The timer's ready. Okay, so we have 12 seconds.
Who's my buyer? You're the buyer?
I can do the buying.
Or he, it doesn't matter to me.
We have a volunteer buyer. Anyone like to shop?
Silver or red, who's gonna call it out? Red. You win. Red? Okay, red's out.
Okay. So we need someone over here. You're gonna have to take from stock.
I'll take. I mean, I got no other.
Okay. So who's gonna call out the color? Okay. So red. Respond. Timer start. This is always really hard to get going. So everyone's like, okay, I'm going to build them. We're like, wait, no, stop. Stop. Don't do anything until I say. 16 seconds. Silver. Remember, we have to do 12. Whoa. Are you juicing those numbers at all? Red. Got 3 more silver, right? So just 3 in a row, make it easy. So how many do we have finished? Silver.
Silver.
Red. There's a lot less people. No one's really running around anymore, right? Where's the planner? Silver. Yeah, he found a new job. No, he should be at the vendors working on very strong relationships with them so they can Kanban your supply. Silver. How many silvers? It was 3, right? Red.
Okay, silver and red?
Yeah. It looks easy, doesn't it? Did we change the product in any way? Did we change the employees at all? Well, I think a few of them are different, but...
Train them better.
Well, they're from the same pool. Doesn't count. Silver. Oh, you ordered too many silvers. Whatever. You gotta put it back. We were only supposed to do 4.
That's fine.
So we'll make another red.
Make another red.
Make another red.
We're gonna do 10 instead of 8, man.
Okay, so are we at 12 yet? We're at 9? How much time? So in 3 minutes, we've made 9 units. How long did it take us to do the first one last time? Like 840? What a big difference. Thousands of %. How hard is that to do? Okay, we got 5 silver, 5 red. We've overproduced, but that's okay. Out of stock.
What do you need?
Small grays.
3 small grays, but that
Okay. I think we're good at that. I have some missing pieces. Someone stole them from the last session. But I think we've got the point across, right? Yep. So let's recap. So we did, where's the timer? When was the first tower started in station number 1 production cell? Immediately, right? Started right away. How often does things start right away when you get an order the way you do business now? Doesn't start right away, right? It takes a day or 2, sometimes a week, depending on how many parts you need to order, right? When was the first red tower received into finished goods inventory? Oh, I think it was 18 seconds? 18 seconds? Sure. 18 seconds? Right? When was the first silver tower received into finished goods inventory? It was like another 12 seconds later, right? It's pretty good, right? What was the previous one? 8 minutes and 40 seconds? That's a very big difference, right? And what did we do differently? A lot, right? We took out all of this part. It's gone, right? Now we've increased our capacity. We can set up multiple production lines. We can double our sales without adding space, without adding employees. Doesn't that sound nice, right? You might have to increase equipment, right? But you'll be able to double your sales. When in the last tower received into finished goods inventory? So when we stopped at 10 units, what was the time? 5, 5 to 6 minutes. So we made 10 units in less time it took us to do one. Pretty substantial, right? So what was the cycle time for a red top?
12 seconds.
To finish, right? Right. Total cycle time, each step was probably around 35 to 40 seconds, counting each individual step. Under a minute, right? It's usually about 45 to 60 seconds, right? To do it this way. Right? Now, in the other process, if you would optimize each step, how many would ship? Would we be able to get that many done that fast? We would have to add 3 material handlers in order to do the same thing, right? And then what would happen to the production cell? They'd be overburdened, right? They'd have all this stuff in their work cell. And what happens when you have too much in your area? You can't work, right? It's the golden rule of if you can't get it out, you can't get it in. If you can't get it in, you can't get it out. So you end up surrounded by your own work, right? Right? And you try to overproduce, and then you run out of space very fast, right? So what was the silver top cycle time? Roughly the same, right? Right? A very small variant. If life were only that simple, right? How long did it take us total to make the 10 that we made? 5 minutes. Wow. So what worked well? Everything. Right? The planner is on vacation, right? Right? You got something?
Yeah, I do. A big question just for me, and this might work awesome for people, but what if every single one of your towers is different?
Yeah. And you have different variant parts in your work cell. If they're different size and shape, you set it up to make different sizes and shape. This exact layout is just a template example, but in variants of customized manufacturing, right? And I've worked with many equipment makers that make different types of options. You can have a base model, and sometimes it goes down to design. You design it for manufacturing so that you can optimize and add in and out options, right? If you're making a completely custom product, there's parts of your processes that are repeatable. No matter how custom it is. You make a closet, you're making drawers of a specific size. You're making partitions of a similar size. You're making a maybe a hutch or something, things like repeatedly. It's just a different size, right? So when you run these through the process, you're making drawers or whatever assembly you're making, you try to find the commonality between each element, and you just leave out the options of the variants, and you start with the base. Not everything fits it exactly, but you can get to the point where you can improve it regardless by taking out the, oh, it's always so different, why try, and trying to make as much as similar as possible. It's not the Henry Ford Model T, right? Everything is black in the same model, same options, right? But you try to find any common elements and you standardize that into the work cell. It's not bulletproof, but a lot of things, if you think and try hard enough, there's enough common things that you can optimize those processes, even though they're variants. I've done it with many different types of things. It works. You can get 50 to 60%. You can't get, this is ideal state as an example, but you can make significant improvements. Imagine taking your cycle time from 4 days to 3 days. I mean, that's profound, right? Or 4 days to 2.5 days, or 4 days to even 3.5 in the first shot. That's a half day you get back. That means you can start the next job a half day sooner, right? I did a value stream map with the implants company. 180 days to deliver an implant. We brought it down to 96 days by making work cell. Pretty big win, right? Taco Bell. Yeah. McDonald's has the same thing. They pull the parts out of the hot bins. Yeah. Doesn't always taste that good, but it's fast. Yeah. Did you see the study? The guy left his Big Mac on the windowsill for like 20 years and it looked the same. That's scary. That's scary.
That's impressive.
I know. I can't believe we eat that. Only in a pinch, right? So what could work better? What could work better with something like this? How can we improve this? It's hard to think about, right? It looks perfect. There's ways to do it. We ran out of materials. We didn't have a stock replenishment program. So what happens when you run out of materials? No matter how optimized your process is, you can't get any work done without any parts. Yeah. Yeah, right? There's improvements, but what a profound difference. You guys can go. Let's give them a round of hand. That was a pretty good win there, right? You know, like I said, it's not a copy-paste idea. It doesn't fit perfectly, but you can find improvement opportunities using the same Kanban system. Even if it's just with purchase parts, right? Keeping them in stock, maybe 5 or 10, and when it gets down to 3, you do the reorder. Instead of doing MRP planning, oh, we order this once every 6 weeks, just blindly ordering. What if sales increase? You're going by the same report and schedule to order on Wednesday once a month, and now you're already out on Monday, and everyone's like, yeah, we got nothing to do. We ran out of motors. What do you mean you ran out of motors? We were only planned to build 5 this month. Well, we're building 12. Now what do? Everyone stands and waits for the parts to come in, right? It's reactionary, not proactive, right? Kanban systems, the trigger starts when the part is gone. This is an optimized one. Normally there'll be multiple, sometimes 100, 200 pieces in queue, and when it hits a reorder point, it sends a trigger, buy more. And your suppliers know, every time I send an order, I want 20 more pieces, 50 more pieces, you ship them, right? And they'll ship them from their stock. And it works like the skeet ball. You pull the ball out, they slide forward. You send one to a customer. You pull another one out, you send it to the customer, it rolls forward each time. Okay? So we got about 10 minutes. So teamwork is fundamental to lean. There's no individual person in the process that is more important than the other. Everyone's part of the same network. If one guy's missing, things don't get done, right? Except for the materials guy, right? Expand trust, promote and reward participation, and provide skills and training. The more knowledge that they have, the better of an asset they can be to the business. They can be critical thinking. I often go, well, what if we train them and then they quit? Well, what if you don't train them and they never quit? Right? You've probably seen that on LinkedIn. It's been posted a million times. So guy says to his boss, what if we train them and they quit? And he goes, well, hey, what if we don't train them and they stay forever and we never grow? Right? It's the same problem. You got to invest. So they quit. If you have an environment that's promotionary and motivational and it's easy to work in, people don't quit as much. Or they'll quit, go work somewhere, it's like, oh my God, I'm going to go back. I've seen that happen. Right? Not often. Usually they're like, no. Right? But build value. Become a change agent. Just go from telling to selling. We're trying to get better. How can we help ourselves make our jobs easier? It's not about headcount reduction. It's about, I want to be able to grow my business without hiring a bunch of people so that when things go through their cycles, I have to lay people off. We need to be able to expand and contract with the same workforce by doing things smart. Right? And then when we hit to that point where it's time to grow, we hire more people and we expand for the next set to go up and down, right? Because business is not a straight line and it's not necessarily predictable, right? Promote worker-driven continuous improvement. Empower them to make their own changes. They have the answers. They work with it every single day and they're probably all cussing about it in the lunchroom. Give them the skills and give them the venue to voice their opinions and ideas. Some of them are nonsense. I gotta say, I've heard some crazy stuff, but some of them are really good, right? Share responsibility for the changes and accept empowerment to make decisions and make mistakes. Sometimes we'll do something that doesn't work that good, we'll try it again, we'll make another improvement, right? Over and over again, it gets better, right? Poka-yoke, mistake proofing. It's a Japanese word for basically making it idiot-proof, would be the American translation. It's to respect the intelligence of the workers by taking repetitive tasks or actions and making it dependent on vigilance or memory and making it almost impossible to screw it up. Instead of making it round, you make it an odd shape with a pin so the part only goes in one way, so they can't put it upside down or backwards or whichever, right? Putting notches in labels that shows which way is up and putting a mark on the plastic so when you put it in, if it doesn't match, the sticker's upside down. Because when you have something on a workbench and you see it a million times, you very easily put a sticker upside down. And then you go to put it on and it goes, how could you put that upside down? How could you be so stupid? Well, I've seen a million of these. They all look the same after 50 million. It's like, okay, how do you fix that? Put a little notch in the label, right? Mistake goes away. QA defects, no rework. Idiot-proof measurement. Slide it in, cut it off. That's it. Miter setup. Miters are one of the hardest things, right? If you know the right equipment. Mine never come out straight. De facto idiot-proof buttons. Everyone's seen this, right? Do you really want to delete this? A lot of us just hit yes anyways and think, oops, right? We've kind of created our own problem, right? TPM, total production maintenance. It's not just about maintaining the machine, it's about improving it for what you do with it, right? You can add capabilities and prove it's operative for what you're doing with it, right? Sometimes it takes a little science project, sometimes not. OEE definition. Does anyone understand what optimization or utilization of a piece of equipment really is? Right? It's about if the lights are on in the building, is it making parts? Is it being used? Not, oh, I have it, the machine is on. Well, is it making parts? Right? The best I'll ever see in top-end facilities is 35 to 40%. And they'll say, yeah, we need another piece of equipment. I said, no, you don't. You're using less than half of what you have. Why is it down so much? Change over time, maintenance, right? How reliable is it, right? What are you really getting out of your equipment? You want to buy more things. Well, your building's only got so much space. Why don't you use what you already have, right? It's like driving 2 cars and you only need one. You're not going to drive both of them every day, right? Not yourself anyways, right? So is lean right for you? Do your forecasting and demand don't match? Are you constantly putting out fires? Most of us usually do. Right? No time to plan. We don't have time to work on improving. We just need to get this order done. So let's just keep working really, really hard. But yet the problem never goes away. We're still repeating the same thing over and over again. Right? Do you not recalculate customer demand? This is one people don't even think about. Well, customer demand, this is about tack time. Am I really gauging how fast I need to be performing every day of the week? Or am I just looking at, this is how many we need to make this week, this is how many we need to make this month. Go do it. Well, how do you know if you're on target to meet that? You need to know where you are, right? Because in real life, it goes like this. You go up and down. Okay, material shortage. Okay, well, now how do I make that up, right? Then the firefighting starts, right? Get rid of communication by tribal knowledge. This is dangerous. You only realize you're a victim of it until it's too late for most people. Like my client, the guy retired. He said, all right, I'm done with you guys. Have a nice day. And they call me and say, Eric, you know this? You just said about standard work? We don't have anyone to document. Well, will he come out of retirement? They're like, I don't know, maybe. If you're lucky, he will, right? Disconnect between floor and office. This is that historical disconnect between what we can really do and what they're planning to do, right? And sometimes they're not far off. Sometimes it's just a few little things that need to be communicated back, and then we can be on the same platform, right? So value stream mapping, we don't have too much time to go through it. We're out of time, right? Yeah. So we're almost at the end. I'll take a few minutes. A value stream map, like I had hit on in the beginning, it's the time it takes to go from order to delivery, and each little step in the middle, and what the time is, and how many things are in queue. Just like at Thunder Mountain. You want to go on 10 rides a day? How many people are in line at each ride before you can get on? That's how long it takes you to experience your amusement park enjoyment, right? Your customers see the same thing. Their order comes in, it's not first in line, it's at the back, right? And that's what a value stream map is used to measure. And that's how we find the opportunities, by understanding what we do and to find targeted ways to improve the delivery to the customer, not just optimize the machine. That doesn't get you anywhere. That gets you more stuff, right? It'll get you more things in the bin, but it doesn't mean it'll ship faster, right? Okay. And this is a great one by George Patton. A violently executed plan now is better than a perfect one next week, which we never get to because we're too busy, right? Any questions, comments? I was a few minutes off timing, but not bad. Not bad for 2 hours. No comments, questions, criticisms? What could I do better? He was like, oh, we'll save that for later. All right, then. Thanks, everyone, for coming. Who's helping me clean up? Nobody. Okay. That's what I thought.